Welcome everyone to Gamer Milk. Today we've got the first Ryzen 5 3500X review, Intel is getting more cores, and 3rd Gen Threadripper loses compatibility? But first, check out today's sponsor, Drop, formerly known as Massdrop, a group buy website with amazing deals on PC hardware. It's free to sign up, and if you do it today, you'll get $20 off your first drop-made item, so head to the link in the description below. Okay, it's news time, and today it looks like we have our first review of the Ryzen 5 3500X. The review was done by X Preview, and they compared the 3500X to the Ryzen 5 3600 and Intel's i5-9400F. Their test system includes an RX 5700 XT for the GPU, 16GB of DDR4 3200 for the RAM, and similar motherboards across the two platforms. For those who didn't see my last video, the 3500X is a 6-core, 6-thread CPU with a base clock of 3.6 GHz and a boost of 4.1. When it comes to the results, AMD's 3500X did extremely well. Productivity benchmarks clearly show the new CPU has an edge over the i5-9400F in both single and multi-core performance. With that said, the 3600 is a very real testament to just how great AMD's multi-threading implementation is. It only has a 100 MHz higher boost clock and the same base clock, yet the logical threads help AMD's 3600 dominate both the 3500X and 9400F in quite a few benchmarks. With that said, the 9400F did win in a couple benchmarks that favor Intel, but that's about it. Moving on to gaming, I think the results demonstrate just how much more important your GPU is to your CPU. As you look through the benchmarks that I'm showing, you'll probably notice a trend. There's not really any difference between the 3500X and 9400F. AMD wins some, then Intel wins some, and when one does win, it's not by a lot. What's even more wild is that when we compare the 3600, it's basically the exact same thing, plenty of times with very little actual difference. So why is that? Well, even with a decent GPU like the 5700 XT and really high frame rates from esports games, all three of these CPUs are able to keep up. And this kind of goes back to what I've said many times before. Your GPU is almost always going to be your bottleneck. That may change a little as higher core count CPUs gain traction in the market, encouraging developers to utilize them, but for the time being, your CPU isn't that important for gaming unless you have a top GPU and aiming for crazy frame rates. Okay, so with that little rant out of the way, the 3500X is clearly aimed at taking the lower end PC market. As far as price, if you saw my last video, unfortunately the Ryzen 5 3500X is currently only being sold in China and only to OEMs, so we can't really say for sure how much it'll cost consumers, but if that did happen, I'd expect it around the $150 to $160 range because that would pretty much be a perfect price for where the market is right now. While on the topic of higher core count CPUs, it looks like things will continue to move up in pretty much every sector, even for Intel. In the SciSoft benchmark that was found and shared by Tom Apisak, you can see it's of Intel's upcoming 10th Gen Comet Lake series of CPUs. This one is for their i3 10100, which isn't all that exciting of a CPU, except for one thing. It's a 4-core, 8-thread CPU, meaning Intel is adding hyper-threading to their i3 line of chips. The reason that matters is because pretty much any time they add cores to either their i3, i5, or i7, they'll likely do it for the rest of their product stack, meaning the recent rumors of Intel going 10 cores for Comet Lake are likely true. Of course, having more powerful, lower cost CPUs is really great as well, and honestly, I'd say it's about their only move. Hopefully it won't require a new motherboard, but I wouldn't hold my breath. Speaking of new motherboards, it looks like you may need one for AMD's 3rd Gen Threadripper CPUs. According to a couple recent rumors, AMD's next gen Threadripper chips will not be compatible with AMD's current X399 platform, and this comes together with other leaks and rumors pretty well. MSI accidentally gave away an upcoming TRX 40 chipset, and now we're hearing that these new chipsets won't be compatible with last gen Threadripper, so there's likely a difference in socket. As far as what I think, I am a bit disappointed in this. Plenty of people gave AMD a ton of credit for guaranteeing their AM4 boards over a certain time period. With that said, their X399 chipset wasn't a part of that guarantee, and they've still kept it around for a little while, so I'm not holding them really at fault for it. Honestly, I'm just excited to see them get away from trying to one-up Intel with the name. Instead, they've got their own name that makes me, honestly, more intrigued. So while that does it for today, what did you think of the news? Bummed about Threadripper's motherboards, or are you excited about getting more cores in Intel's CPUs? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you liked the video, please subscribe. And as always, have a great day.